What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This time we'll take a look at Jumanji: The Next Level. Let's waste no time. Let's get into this. I overall thought that The Next Level was just as good as Welcome to the Jungle. I got some problems with it here and there, but overall, I found this movie to be very highly entertaining and more of an enjoyable movie than the first movie. Though I did like that first movie, but I think The Next Level had elements that I found to be a whole lot better than the previous film. So, I'm gonna get my positives and my negatives out of the way. Positives. Um, most of the returning cast come back for this movie, and just like the first movie, they're all fine. All the young actors, they all do a good job at being the friends. Um, there's a new wrinkle into their story. The character of Spencer and the characters of Martha. They're at the end of the previous movie. They're forming a romantic relationship. In this movie, their relationship is kind of on ice and on a hiatus, mainly because Spencer is feeling a lot of self doubt and he's really in a dead end, and he's really at a dead end within his life. So, Spencer is the one that actually goes back to Jumanji himself, and his friends have to go into the game and bring him out, which brings in the element that I like. This movie introduces the characters of Eddie and Milo, played by Danny DeVito and Danny Glover, respectively. They play They play friends who are now estranged from one another because they used to own a restaurant with one another, but Milo retired, which forced Eddie, Danny DeVito's character, to kind of leave the business and retire and go into a forced retirement. So, to me, some of the best bits and some of the best humor comes from DeVito and Danny Glover. And when those characters get transported into Jumanji, The Rock and Kevin Hart play Eddie and Milo respectively, and they do a outstanding job at portraying those personalities. And it's a different take into those avatars and how they act and portray. We saw how they acted in the previous movie. Now we've seen new people take them on as avatars and seeing those personalities and those characters. To me, that's where some of the best humor is. Seeing Kevin Hart act like Danny Glover was hilarious. Seeing The Rock act like a grumpy curmudgeon like Danny DeVito is in this movie was hilarious and outstanding. And just The Rock doing that, trying to do a Danny DeVito impersonation was funny. It was legitimately funny. I got a lot of laughs out of it. And Kevin Hart playing it straight like Danny Glover. The same thing. It was really, really funny. I really enjoyed it a lot. That's an element of this movie that really did it for me. I liked it a lot. And of course, seeing Fridge play Shelly, the map guy, was hilarious. He's now a fat, pudgy Jack Black. Was funny as well too. And so all that stuff was great, and all that stuff was fine. And we get the introduction of a new character called Ming, who is like a pickpocketer, who is the avatar that Spencer is now into. And as an addition to the Jumanji game, her character is okay. Her character is fine. I think the actress Aquafina, there's nothing spectacular about her acting skills. She's just there, but she's nothing horrible or unwatchable. She's just there. You know, you know, Nick Jonas returns as Jefferson Seaplane, and like he was in the first movie, I like Nick Jonas in these Jumanji movies. He's got a lot of personality. He's got a lot of charisma, and he really gels really well with Jack Black and The Rock and all those guys. He doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. He kind of blends in that fairly well, which is enjoyable, which I like. Uh, the action sequences in this movie, they're all really well done. I thought this movie had much better action as opposed to the first movie. I think the lead antagonist of this game, Jurgen the Brutal, is a much more interesting character than the Van Pelt recreation from Welcome to the Jungle. I like how they did a more original character. They didn't rely on Van Pelt again. We have Jurgen the Brutal now. And I like his whole backstory of being this iron fisted ruler who actually killed Bravestone's parents within the game's storyline. I like it. It works. Also, like the previous movie, Jurgen the Brutal. He's not in this movie a lot, but he does feel like a threat, unlike Van Pelt. I'll give you that. They did try to make Jurgen feel like a legitimate threat. And when we get to the fight scene between him and Bravestone, we actually feel that Bravestone has an obstacle to overcome because Jurgen is pretty much unmovable until he gets hit with this Jumanji berry, which makes him weak. So I like that. I think they fixed the whole thing with the villain. I still don't, and of course, this movie leaves it. This movie leaves the character of Jurgen to be explored more deeper and more further in the potential fourth movie, which I'll be all in for. 'Cause I want to know more about Jurgen the Brutal. No, he's a very interesting character to me, especially since you did the whole thing of him killing Bravestone's parents. It makes his storyline with Bravestone more personal and more deep, and I want to know what led to those events. So, good in that movie for making a more interesting villain. Again, it's another villain that's connected to Bravestone, but this one is more personal in a way. That's all good. Things I don't like. This movie once again tries to fit in that modern day humor, and a Jumanji movie, and to me, it just feels completely out of place. I think one of the main reasons the original Jumanji movie was so good was because you had Robin Williams, and Robin Williams never really stooped down to that, lowbrow comedy. His comedy was always more improvisational, but it was always, but in Jumanji movie, his comedy is also very story based and character based. This movie is just jokes for the sake of jokes, and once again, they do dick jokes, and I dick jokes in a Jumanji movie just doesn't make any sense to me. But and it's clear as day that Welcome to the Jungle and Next Level, in comparison to the first movie, these are more light-hearted movies, while the original Jumanji movie was, in comparison, a little more somber and darker in a way. But that movie had a lot of humor, but it had well integrated humor. These new Jumanji movies, they rely too much on that modern day humor, and in the movie called Jumanji, this does not work for me. I don't like it. And it's one of the big gripes I had with the last movie. I don't like the modern day humor in these movies. They just feel out of place to me. I mean, some of the jokes they do land, like when Fridge is playing Jack Black and he's pissed off about it. That's hilarious. That's funny. The scene where Martha and Fridge swap characters for a brief minute. That's legitimately funny. That's legitimately hilarious. It's good stuff. So there is some humor in this movie that works. The humor works, but then you got humor that doesn't work, and that's the forced dick jokes that this movie has, like the last one does. That don't work for me. There's other humor in this movie that just doesn't work for me. However, Danny Glover and Danny DeVito, their brand of humor in this movie, that does work for me. Them playing pretty much these grumpy old curmudgeons. That's hilarious, and it's good, and it's funny stuff. Especially when you have The Rock and Kevin Hart kind of playing off that too by bringing it in. It's funny. It's good. And of course, this movie also has a cameo from Nora from the first Jumanji movie. Of course, they make very little reference to her character in Jumanji because we all know at the end of Jumanji, they moved and everything got kind of like got erased in Jumanji. The events never really happened because once the game was beaten, Alan and Sarah went back to being kids, but they had the knowledge. So, but whatever. It was fun to see a returning character from the original movie come back. Maybe in the next movie they can bring the child of Alan Parrish and Sarah Whittle into the mix because remember Sarah was pregnant with child at the end of the first Jumanji movie, so why not bring a Parrish character into back into the Jumanji movie series? I'll be all for that. I would love to see that happen so that we can get more of that link between these new movies and to the original movies. But of course, this movie does set up for a fourth movie because we see that we see a repairman go into Spencer's basement along with his mother because he's there to fix the heater. He sees the Jumanji game, and the last image we see are a bunch of ostriches from Jumanji itself running amok in the real world. So the next movie could be just like the original movie, bringing Jumanji back into the real world. Um, could be interesting. I'll be all for it, depending on how they make that story come about. And like I said, it'll be cool if we can bring in a parish character to kind of tie these movies all together. I think that would be pretty coal. But yeah, maybe all right. Overall, Next Level, it's a fun, action-packed movie. I enjoyed it on the same level as Welcome to the Jungle, though I think this movie is slightly better with the additions of Danny Glover and Danny DeVito, which is why I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Those are my thoughts on Jumanji: The Next Level. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.